Welcome to another episode of the Balancing Hormones Naturally podcast, where we offer actions and steps you can take today to start balancing your hormones naturally. This is your podcast host, Leah Brueggemann. I am a functional diagnostic nutritional practitioner. I am honored and excited to be your guide on your journey to better understanding your hormonal health and how it affects your everyday life. Okay. Hey, Leah. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
You are so welcome, and I'm so happy to be here. I am doing well. It's just so funny that we're both pregnant, so I can like commiserate about my pregnancy symptoms, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I know what that's like."
I know, and oddly, like really close together too.
Yeah.
What is it, like two weeks apart?
Yeah, you're just a couple weeks ahead of me.
Yeah, that is super funny. I know. I wish that we could, like I was saying before I actually hit record on this, I wish we could just like catch up all day. Because I feel like at this point we kind of go way back, which I am
Yeah.
thankful for. But regardless, thanks for taking the time. So I just wanted to jump right in, or I just want to jump right in. Could you just introduce us to you and then introduce us to your family?
Yeah. So my name is Leah Brueggemann. I'm a certified functional diagnostic nutritional practitioner, which is such a mouthful. But I specialize working with women's hormones, and I am married. My husband is a doctor of physical therapy, so I guess we kind of like run in the health space over here. And I have one little boy, Landon, who is 2.5, and then we have a second little boy, Killian, who will be born in September. So we're just a tiny little family of testosterone over here, I guess. It's lots of boys.
Lots of boys, but you can handle it.
Yeah, it's all good. I had 6 brothers, so I feel like, it's okay.
So if anybody's well prepared, it's you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's amazing. Well, I have some questions about how you balance that like family aspect with your work
Yeah.
later, that I'm excited to get to. But I was wondering if you could first just kind of start with a little bit of your story.
Mhm.
I know just because there's a huge story that goes into the background of what got you involved in what you're doing and what got you so passionate about guiding other women through their hormonal healing journey, and then all these different programs you have set up. So like, could you just kind
Yeah.
of share that story with us?
Yeah, so I actually went to college for music. I have my bachelor's in piano and voice, which is a far cry from health. But that's okay. Brings out my creative side. So I went to college for music and I graduated. And college murdered my health because and I think this is with every, major, you're just the work is never done. But
Mm,
specifically when it comes to music, like your homework may be done. You may be well prepared for that test, but are you ever done practicing? The answer is no. And I had
mm,
2 instruments to practice for. So, um, there was so many nights I remember not going to bed till 3 a.m. and then I'd have to wake up at 5:30 because of my commute. So when I graduated, I remember sleeping 10 plus hours every night, and I would wake up and I'd be so tired. And I just thought I need a recovery from college. Like, give me a couple weeks. Well, months go by and I'm like, I'm so tired. So bloated all of the time. Digestion was bad and my cycles were kind of weird. But I didn't ever put this together. Like I would have 30-day cycles, 60-day cycles, 90-day cycles. And I just thought that was normal. Like my cramps, my periods were debilitating. And again, I grew up with that. I thought it was normal. Um, 6 brothers, remember? Only 1 sister. So there wasn't a lot of like tossing back and forth of like, what's your
mm.
period like? So that was, my reality. And then I was doing a self breast exam and I found a lump, and everyone should do self breast exams. And I'm not talking like a little tiny like eraser bump. Mine was like the size of a golf ball. And I called my mom because that's what you do. when things bad happen. You call your mom. And she's like, go to the doctor, get into the doctor. So I got in, I think the next day they were really accommodating. I had an ultrasound. I was too young for a mammogram. I'm really aging myself. But so this was back when I was like 21 or 22, because I had just graduated college. And they diagnosed me with fibroadenomas, which are benign breast tumors. Now, if you have a complex fibroadenoma, this does put you at a greater risk for breast cancer, but not if you just have like a basic one. I did get the gene test for the BRCA genes, and I tested negative for both. And so even though the doctor was like, I highly recommend you get these removed, I was okay to not have them removed. Because what I found out as I started looking into this is that every time you get them removed, about like 95% of them come back. And I'm like, why
Wow.
am I going to spend money on this surgery, go through a surgery to have them come back? And so I said no. And that was my personal decision. And I started researching this. And by researching at this point, I was looking at Dr. Google. And I was like, the 30 days to get rid of fibroadenomas, and looking into all these things. And people are like, oh, if you follow this diet for 30 days, you'll be cured. Or, eat no red meat for 30 days, or, all of the things, right? And this wasn't working except for making me go crazy. And I was very just concerned about my fibroadenoma. So then I started dumping into the doctor realm and the holistic realm and the practitioners. You guys, I went to like every doctor. Like I did all the things. I did so many tests, like heavy metal tests, gene tests, like all of these things. And every single doctor's like, I can fix your fibroadenomas. And they would do something very specific for my fibroadenomas. And newsflash, nothing worked except for it gave me very disordered eating, because they're all putting me on these super restrictive diets. And they're like, you cannot cheat. You can never have coffee. You could have a half a cup of strawberries. Like it was just ridiculous. And so after 2 years of this, 3 years of this, I was like, enough's enough. And so I, at that point, started tracking my cycles, and understanding more about my cycles, and just started eating to nourish my body a little bit more. And no doctor at this point had ever asked me what my periods were like. None of them. They were so focused on my fibroadenomas and like, oh, you have fibroadenomas because you have high estrogen. So let's put you on progesterone, instead of like figuring out what's going on a little bit deeper. So I started tracking my cycles, and that's when I realized I wasn't ovulating. And that was kind of, a red flag to me. Again, didn't know too much at this point. So just learning. And I was about to get married, I think, at this point, and obviously wanted to get pregnant. I'm like, well, ovulating is kind of a necessary like component to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I got really, really serious. And that's when I started actually studying and not just going on Dr. Google, and reading books and looking through the journals and figuring out what is it with women's hormones like. And sadly, that there's really, most menstruating women, and I say menstruating because this doesn't apply if you're a postmenopausal, are left out of studies. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because we respond differently depending on where we are in our cycle. So let's not spend more money and test them 4 times throughout your cycle. Let's just leave them out. And then we'll have you do all of these things because we have scientific studies on it. But we fail to mention that you actually weren't in the scientific study. It was done on men. So
It's a
that
bigger
was,
problem.
yeah, that was such a big news flash, because at this point I'd been told, do keto, do IF, like all of these things.
Mhm.
So that's when I just put my hat on, and I was like, okay, I need to really get serious about this. Anyways, flash forward, I became a certified functional practitioner, so I can run functional labs, all of that. I completely got rid of my fibroadenomas. They're all gone, and not a single surgery. I'm obviously pregnant with baby number 2, so we got the ovulating working. And I lengthened my luteal phase. I actually had ovarian cysts as well that I got rid of. And regulated my cycles, had completely painless cycles, was just able to balance my hormones, all that fun stuff. And then everyone started asking me, what'd you do? Because I'm a very open person. So I was like, you have painful periods? Guess what? That's not normal. And people started asking. And then that became my life's mission. And now it's my full-time job.
I love it. Um, what I love the most about your story too, that I hadn't actually really connected in my mind until now, just hearing it, is that like so many of those challenges that you walked through translated directly into how you were able to help me. And I can only speak
Mm.
for myself, but I'm assuming lots and lots of other people because like um even the stress of college, because I remember when I came to you and came on as a client, that was like very closely after college, and a lot of, yes, I wanted to come to you to fix, I wasn't ovulated. Actually, I didn't know that. You told me that. But like I was having just like, all sorts of not great digestion, period, all over the place. But a lot of it also was wrapped up in the stress of post college, and you were
Yeah.
able to like, hey, yeah, I've let me walk you through that part too. And then the disordered eating from just like
Mhm.
competitive athletics and being told like this and things like that, and you were able to really help with that. I remember that being a huge unexpected but blessing of a focus that we walked through. So I think it's really beautiful when you kind of think about like, because we go through difficult things all the time, but then it's really beautiful to see them come full circle as a way that you can serve somebody else down the
Yeah.
road. Um, so it's pretty cool.
We're going to take a quick moment for today's sponsor. I think the hardest thing when you're making product swaps to non-toxic living is finding things that are actually non-toxic and not greenwashed and actually work. That being the key phrase right there. I tried out Row Casa Organics, spent my own money on this, you guys, and I am thoroughly impressed. And so I reached out and I got a discount code for you. So I want to share with you some of my favorite product swaps to non-toxic that actually work, are actually non-toxic, and you're gonna really, really, really like, okay? So, it's really hard to choose, but number one has gotta be their body butter. It's gotta be. If you want your legs to look so smooth and so incredible and be so luxuriously moisturized, you need their body butter. It's my favorite thing ever. So that's gonna be number one. Number two is going to be their magnesium cream or gel. I use that at nighttime. So amazing. And if you really want to optimize like how well you sleep, do their magnesium gel or their magnesium cream with their tart cherry juice because it has valerian and chamomile extract in it. So you're going to sleep amazing. It's also great for blood pressure, which is cool. And then on top of that, you can do their deep sleep salve on the bottoms of your feet. You will sleep like a baby. And we all know how important sleep is for our hormones. And then I know that I love all of their products, but I'm going to give them two other honorable mentions because I think they're so important. You guys, their lymphatic cream is one of the coolest things ever. Make sure you drink enough water when you use it, but it's incredible. You can see the difference in inflammation in the face, like literally seeing people's faces thin out just by getting rid of inflammation. So I highly recommend the lymphatic cream. Also, if you ever get swollen ankles or anything like that, it's great to have on hand, like after you're hiking. The muscle joint cream is also awesome for that. And you guys, you want, this is gonna sound weird, but you want the baby bottom cream and you want it for yourself. You want it for your babies, but you want it for yourself because if you put this on after shaving, you get no razor bumps. It's like this magic potion. So anyway, those are all of the ones that I would start out with. You can go to rowcasaorganics.com, use the code LEAH, L-E-A-H, for 20% off your first order. Yes, that's 20%. Definitely take advantage.
Very, very cool. So obviously, yeah, I worked with you. That's
Yeah.
how we met. And so I know kind of firsthand you work super, super closely with your clients.
Yeah.
And I feel like you strike this beautiful but super unique balance between coach and friend because
Mhm.
you were a coach to me. Like, I respected what you had to say. I did what you told me to. I was compliant, but also a friend because I shared things with you that were super, super close, like, disordered eating related thoughts and things.
Yeah.
Um, so from with that in mind, what is the most difficult thing for you kind of from this leadership perspective of how you learn to communicate with each individual that you work with and lead them through that journey?
That's a tough question, and I feel like I'm constantly learning that.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I always have a coach. I'll probably always have a coach. In the beginning, I focused very much on business coaching, having someone help me. And now, um, my coach does do a little bit of business, but we actually work on nervous system regulation because one of the hardest parts of my job is holding space for like 100 women at a time. And if you think about it, when women are coming to me for help, we're dealing with infertility, we're dealing with loss of self confidence, we're dealing with emotions all over the place, which is affecting the relationship. Where a lot of things are coming up, and if you just think about talking to one person like that, it can be really emotionally hard. So I have about 100 typically, give or take at a time. And that is a lot of space to hold for women. And so this is a learning process. But for me, I find that a lot of people do know the answers inside of them. They just have to be given this space to feel safe enough to explore them. And so my job as a coach and is not necessarily to always tell you what to do. Yes, I give you that information, but my job is to help guide you to figuring it out yourself. So, yes, I give you training modules. I give you all the information that you need, but 99% of the time you're here because you need a step by step, you need an accountability, and you need the space to figure out why you haven't been able to figure it out before, you know? Because sometimes I'm teaching you something that you may have learned before, right? It wasn't like a light bulb moment for you, but now we have to figure out why you haven't applied it and why it hasn't worked in the past, or maybe it needs to be tweaked to your lifestyle. And that really is just holding space because we have to dig really deep into those emotions and those mindset beliefs. And so I think my biggest job is providing you with information, but then guiding and giving you the space to navigate it. So I think one of the hardest things that I've had to learn, like bang my head against a wall hard, is not answering questions right away.
Mm,
Because if someone would come in and they're like, hey, my digestion today was horrible and I blah, 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 and I want to quit and I don't know what's going on and I'm so frustrated, immediately as a coach, and just as a human being, right? Our ego comes in and we want to be like, I can fix this and here. And yes, maybe I can fix it. But is that going to serve you long term? Am I going to be there long term?
mm,
No,
yeah.
my job is to provide you with these tools. And so controlling that and like not stepping in and being like, okay, do this, 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 and this, instead asking the questions. What did you do differently? What are your stress levels looking like? How are you feeling? What do you think is the issue? And just guiding them. And I'd say that like pretty much 100% of the time, give them like 2 hours and they come back, they're like, oh my gosh, I know what it was. And I'm like, there you go, because, and then that gave you the space to instill that confidence that you are knowing the answer.
Mm,
And then you get more confident about your health journey. So, yes, I provide tools. Yes, I provide information, but I think a big part is like just holding space for you to like navigate the turmoil of a health journey.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, well, and I feel like you just do a really good job too of teaching people how to listen to their bodies,
Yeah.
which I'm gonna be honest, I came to you having 0 understanding of that. I didn't leave yet with 100% of that. because I was even in the negative zone. I was really bad. I feel like I'm still learning that, but
Yeah.
that's definitely something that started then, because I do remember you would ask those questions that wouldn't just like, what's that one saying, like teaching people how to fish instead of just giving them fish. I feel
Yes.
like that's kind
Hmm.
of a quote that would match, you
Hmm.
know, how you lead people through that. But I love that you have kind of the humility to just admit, okay, yes, I have to, have my cup emptied out for all these people, so I need to have somebody who's going to fill mine up too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. And a lot of times she holds up the mirror for me
Mm,
whenever I'm like getting frustrated, or I feel like I'm getting taken advantage of. She goes, okay, well, why didn't you set that boundary? Like, why are
mm,
you letting them do that? And taking like radical responsibility for like, hey, like set your boundaries, stick to them. Like, are you doing what you preach, etc. So it's very nice to have, and I find that that's useful over a spouse, because my poor husband can only like listen to me, um, need help so many times.
that's funny. That's funny. Um, a little bit related too, because I feel like you just kind of touched on this, but
Yeah.
a lot of what you just talked about involves a lot of trust.
Hmm.
So not only is somebody trusting you when they're working with you, but of course they have to decide to work with you in the first place. And like you already kind of painted this picture of just how emotionally heavy the burdens are that people are coming to you with. It's
Yeah.
not just about their cycles. It involves, the people they live with, their
Mhm.
self-esteem, the way they view themselves, all sorts of things. So how do you go about just building that rapport and that trust before someone chooses to kind of put their faith in you, their financial investment in you, and then work
Mhm.
with you?
Um, I give a lot away for free. So I give a lot of information out for free. I give a lot of education. And then most women have tried it at some point and they're like, wow, just following that one tip she gave me helped so much.
Mm,
So I give a lot away for free. Because I know some people don't want to do that, but I don't feel threatened by it because I feel like people will invest to work with you because they want to work with you. They want to be in that presence. They want to have my eyes on their health. They want that accountability because the internet's vast. You could probably find everything I talk about if you just dug long enough. But it's really just breaking it down into that piecemeal and personalizing it to you. So I'm very comfortable giving away like actionable tips. So I love that. And then I share my story a lot because I was on the couch like crying, curled up in a ball when my doctor was like, you have to like continue this extremely restrictive diet for 30 more days or 3 more months, even though you've seen no results. And here's your $600 bill of supplements. And, worried like, will I ever be able to get pregnant? So I've been there. So I share that because I think that understanding that I've been there is a really big part. And then lastly, I very often bring on my past clients to share their stories if they're comfortable because I think that their virtual space can be a little bit scary for people to invest in. Like, am I going to run off with your money? So hearing from past clients is really big. My referral game's pretty strong too.
mm. That's smart. Yeah. I've done that. It was
Yeah.
super fun. Super, super fun. Yeah, I love that. That's great too that you kind of just have faith that you put it out there. And for everybody listening too, obviously I'm gonna link your social media and everything, because I still learn from you just following you and your podcast and Instagram and
Yeah.
blog and everything. So that's pretty amazing. Um
Walking is one of the most underrated forms of exercise, getting in movement. 30 minutes of walking 3 times a week, that's it, can increase your sensitivity to insulin. On top of that, just getting in movement is so good for your blood sugar. And I'm constantly telling you that you cannot balance your hormones if you do not balance your blood sugar. I need to get outside and walk for my peace of soul. I just need to get outside. I need to get some fresh air. And that is why I really love the Walk Easy app, because it combines the benefits of walking with your mental health. And I think a lot of times when you're stepping into anything to do with fitness or
Exercise, we often hear about it as a term of punishment for our body. You have to do this because you ate all the good food. Instead, I want you to look at movement as nourishment, as a celebration that your body can move, and as a way to take care of your health. So Walk Easy, their mission statement is to promote physical movement in a positive way, which is what I love about it. And I get truly bored when I'm walking, and so I need to listen to something. And they have different audio guided sessions that you can choose from. So if you're going on a walk because you really need that mental break to support your mental health, you can listen to the audio guided session on self-love and improve your self-esteem. You can go on the goal setting walk where you're like, I'm on a mission, I need to get some stuff done, I need to set these goals. Literally, you are killing two birds with one stone. Or you can do the cardio walk, and you can go on a really fast walk and burn off steam, which is really amazing and a wonderful opportunity. But on top of that, I know that you're probably someone that struggles with accountability, and maybe you're a little competitive, and you can actually compete with your friends and your family, whoever you would like, on getting in movement. And so you get to see, Sally Sue got her steps in today, so I better make sure I get my steps in today. Keeping that accountability, which is so important, and keeps everybody consistent. I know that if I know one of my friends got her movement in for the day, then I obviously need to support her and go get my movement in as well. So you don't have to have a fancy gadget. You all have a phone, so you just download it onto your phone and you get all of those benefits right there. The main promise of that app is that you don't need to work out every single day to see the results that you want. So how awesome is that? Because I think we need to really look at movement as a celebration of our body. And I love that this app truly helps you do that. So you can just go to the link in the show notes. It'll be right there for you, and you can just download it right onto your phone, and you can start competing to make sure that you are getting your steps in and getting some movement in. And let me know how you like it, and let me know how you enjoy the guided walks.
Okay, this may or may not be my favorite question that I wanted to ask you. And just because I think it's like so, so relatable. But so, you run this business
Mhm.
from home.
Mhm.
You have a toddler, you're pregnant, preparing to have another. Your husband works, you have a lot going on. You also just moved. I mean, that's a huge
Mhm.
thing. Not super recent, but pretty recent. Um, so I feel like, just with working from home and balancing other priorities, um, that's becoming something that's really important to a lot of people. I think
Mhm.
now more than before. And so I was wondering just kind of what tips you have in your back pocket to focus on your clients while you're being surrounded by a lot of distractions.
So I think, well, I know you are extremely pro-life, as am I. And something that I think is very interesting, and Seb brought it up, is I think becoming a mom was like my biggest superpower,
Mhm.
because I started my business when Landon was 3 months old. Was I crazy? Probably. Probably. I'm gonna admit that. But like I had it going, like the wheels were turning, but it didn't officially like take off until he was a couple months old.
Mhm.
That's when I first invested in a business coach. And so I truly believe that like being a mom also helped me just like prioritize like what's really important, and take advantage of small amounts of time to get work done. So number one, I would say you have to communicate with your spouse. So my husband is very supportive, but he was also in grad school when I started this. So
Mhm.
we just juggled with what we could and let go of what we couldn't. So was the house perfectly clean all the time? No. Like, big deal. Like, but you talk about that and you communicate that. I think would be number one. Like Seb is very helpful, especially he's out of grad school now. So this pregnancy, he actually took over a lot of the cooking because like raw chicken made me want to barf. So he did a lot of the cooking. So that was useful.
Mhm.
And then so I think working with your spouse as a team is really big, but you truly have to prioritize what's important and what's not and let go of the rest. Don't try to do it all. You know,
Mhm.
when I first started, I didn't have a website and I didn't have a beautiful Instagram and I didn't have a beautiful anything. I just showed up and I served and I let go of all the rest. And I just had these blinders on. This was God watching out for me. I had these blinders on. I didn't even know anybody else did what I did. I didn't even know they existed because I just had no comparison because I didn't look. And then as I got to a point, after bootstrapping literally everything, I got to a point where I could outsource some stuff. And then that's when I started like the website and the podcast, and I let people help me. I hired out and I just focused on the coaching. So bootstrap everything to a point, but let go of what you don't try and make it perfect because it's not going to be perfect. So, you know, the one part was Landon was really little. So, like, he napped a lot. So, every time he napped, I would work. And every time he was breastfeeding, I could do networking on my phone, you know? So, we just kind of juggled things that way until we got to a point where obviously I needed to, you know, he was walking and prioritize more time there. So, I work during his nap time. And today, like, he's out golfing with his dad. So, I'm working and I work a little bit at nighttime, and that's it. And I've outsourced the rest. So I calculated the hours. I have a team that works about 100 hours a month for me altogether.
That's great.
So, but we didn't start that way.
Right.
But that's because I didn't care about the pretty graphics and I didn't care about my website. All I cared was helping people feel better. And so I showed up and I coached and I did that. And then I build from there. So I think it's so important to let go of everything being perfect. Otherwise, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. That and the comparison piece. I like how you said that because
Yeah,
comparison wastes so much time. It slows us down, takes our eye off the ball, and it is. I think it's very, very true. The saying, "Comparison is the thief of all joy."
it is.
But yeah, I like that. No comparison, letting go of perfection, prioritizing and partnering. I really like that.
Yep.
That's great. Although for what it's worth, I thought before you had all the help you have now, your graphics were beautiful. So
They have definitely improved. I did have someone, actually quite a few people reach out to me after I got a VA that branded my emails. They're like, your emails look beautiful. Not that they weren't bad before. I'm like, it's okay. You can say they were ugly before.
that's funny. Well, I don't think so. Didn't make a difference for me, obviously. Um, kind of a quick question just for fun. What is a simple but tiny change you wish everybody could make? Like you could just snap your finger and everybody would make it. That would make a huge improvement for their overall well-being.
Just start, literally. Anything, because you start a health journey, you're trying to wait for Monday. I just had this discussion with a client. She's like, I'm waiting for my period to be done to start that part of the program. I'm like, why? What's going to happen after your period's done? That you're going to be traveling or something, you know, to start the business. You're like, I just have to wait until I'm done here. It's like life is never going to be perfect. So
Never.
if you wait for life to be perfect to start something, either you're A, never going to start, or B, you're going to start and you're going to stop every time life throws you a curveball. So just start. Do whatever you've been pushing off, just start. Just 5 minutes, set a timer. That's all it takes.
That was the best answer, Leah.
Thanks.
I love it. Just start. Yeah, it's the hardest part of any workout too. Literally just starting. That's great. What about I know you have a lot, so if you can't remember, that's fine. But of all your podcast episodes, do you have a favorite and why?
Okay. So I think one of the ones that's going to be the most educational for people is going to be tracking and understanding your cycle because your cycle is your superpower. And I think if you can just start with understanding your cycle, then you can build from there. I want to say it's like the second episode I ever put out. So that would definitely be it. But you guys, I've interviewed some really cool people. So should definitely check them out.
And I will definitely share it so that we can all check it out.
Yeah.
Last question. So high pressure. Just kidding. What is a book you've recently read or listened to that you really remember enjoying?
So I'm going to share this one for all my boy moms out there, but it's not super recent, but I always go back to it. It's called Boys Adrift by Dr. Sachs. And he is a pediatrician as well as a psychologist, I believe. And he talks so much about like what is going on with the boys and men in our day and age. And he actually covers like why do they get so many ADHD? Is that how you say it? ADHD diagnosis. And he talks about nutrition. He talks about like the estrogen, soy, plastics causing issues, and just how to parent a boy in today's day and age and help them to succeed. And coming from a pediatrician as well as a psychologist, he had some really cool insights. So highly recommend.
Wow. I just wrote that name down actually because that's
Yeah.
fairly applicable.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. I love that he's got that background, the author, but
Yeah,
also just kind of an important topic.
it really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Oh my gosh. Do you have anything else that you want to leave us with, Leah? Thank you so much.
I really don't. I think, well, I guess I do. I want you to start listening to your body. And I want you to know that, like, you know a lot more than you think you know. You just have to trust yourself. And so, especially with women going to doctors and, telling them their symptoms, like, don't let yourself get dismissed and being told it's in your head because you know your body better than that doctor knows your body. He has a degree in medicine, but you have a degree in your life. So, I think just tune in, like, you know more than you think you do.
That's great. Yeah. That should be an encouragement to everybody. Well, thank you so much. I mean,
You're
you already
welcome.
know this, so I'm kind of like hopefully falling on, deaf ears that you already know how I feel about you, but I have so much respect for you. And I'm just so thankful for everything you've done for me. It's still paying dividends today, a long time later. And I feel like I talk about you way more than you know, probably. But yeah, I'm so thankful. And for everybody listening, she really does mean when she says everything comes from a super genuine, but very well experienced perspective. So go follow, go listen, go learn. Because I am still following and listening and learning. So thank you so much, Leah.
You're so welcome. And thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Balancing Hormones Naturally. If you found this helpful, I would love for you to share it with a friend and post it on your stories and tag Balancing Hormones Naturally podcast so we can get this message out. You can find me on Instagram at Leah_BRUEG, and I would absolutely love to hear from you.